I am Reed. I am 27, just an average dude. IV made tons of money mistakes in my 20s, and now I want to share everything I've learned to help you take control of your finances and your life. Alright, so I want to start with something real. I used to work as a bartender, and I still spend a lot of time around people who live pretty recklessly with their money. I've seen bar regulars blow through their entire paycheck in one weekend. I've watched some of my closest friends make decision after decision that I knew was going to hurt them down the road. And look, I love these people to death. They re good people, but they don't always make the best financial decisions, and I think a lot of you watching this have been in that position before. Maybe you've been the person making the bad choices, or maybe you've been the one standing there watching someone you care about dig themselves into a hole. Either way, I've been on both sides, and it sucks. But here's the thing that really got me thinking. I realized that a lot of the people around me are going to be broke when they re-40. And I don't say that to be mean or to act like I am better than them, because trust me, I was the king of bad money decisions in my early 20s. I say it because it is true, and nobody talks about it. They going to wake up one day with a mortgage they can afford and credit card debt that has been following them for years, and they going to wonder where their 20s went. And honestly, I wouldn't wish that on anyone, not a single person. So maybe I am a bit of a loser, because when I was 21, I didn't go out that much. I didn't drink, I stayed home, and I worked on myself. But whenever I think about my future, I know exactly what I want. I want to be able to eat what I want when I want, where I want, without checking my bank account first. I want to take regular vacations and actually enjoy them instead of stressing about how I am going to pay for it. I want to wake up at 40 and feel like I actually have my life together, and I don't think that is too much to ask for, but I keep seeing the same mistakes over and over again, the same patterns, the same habits, and I want to walk you through the biggest ones I've seen so you don't have to learn the hard way, like I did. Let me start with the one that drives me absolutely crazy: lifestyle inflation. I know I sound like a broken record here because I've talked about this before, but I have to bring it up again because it is literally the most common mistake I see. My old general manager at the bar where I worked was making over $100,000 a year easily, and we live in Texas. Okay, Texas is known for being affordable. The cost of living here is nowhere near what you see in New York or California or any of those big coastal cities, but this woman was constantly complaining about paying bills. Every single week, it was the same story. Oh, I can afford this and I can afford that, and bills are just too much. And I remember sitting there thinking, wait a second, you make six figures in Texas and you are telling me you can afford to pay your electric bill. At some point, you have to take responsibility for your own situation. Nobody likes paying bills. Trust me, I hate it too. But if you are making that kind of money in a low cost of living area and you are still struggling, something is seriously wrong with your spending habits. And I know not everyone has it that easy. I had a client the other day, actually, a really cool guy from Oregon, and he was telling me about how his parents bought a house 10 years ago for like $300,000. And now that same house is worth almost $1 million. I mean, that is absolutely insane. I can even wrap my head around that. And he was also telling me that gas on the West Coast is like $8 a gallon right now. So yeah, I get it. Some people are dealing with cost of living situations that are genuinely brutal. But for most of us, lifestyle inflation is something we can actually control. Here's the thing that makes me so frustrated about this. Lifestyle inflation is literally one of the easiest financial problems to fix. Seriously, the solution is so simple, it almost sounds dumb. Just live exactly how you were living before you got the raise. That is it. I remember a few months ago, I talked about this conversation I had with an economics professor I met at the gym. Random, right? But this guy told me something that stuck with me. He said his entire strategy for fixing the US national debt is simple. Go back a few years, see what the government was spending then, and recreate that. Cut everything back to a previous baseline. And I thought, damn, that is actually genius. If it is good enough for the national debt, it is probably good enough for my personal finances. So you got a raise. That is awesome. Seriously, congratulations. But that doesn't mean you need to go buy a new car. This is the trap so many people fall into. You know how expensive new cars are these days. It is ridiculous. In an ideal world, you should only buy a car that you can afford to pay for in cash. I know that sounds crazy in 2024, but that is the goal. There is absolutely no reason to add more monthly expenses to your life when you get a raise. None. Instead, take that extra money and put it somewhere that actually works for you. If you invested $200 a month at average market returns for 20 years, you have almost $120,000. That is real money. Yes, it is a long game, but nothing good ever came easy, and nothing worthwhile happens overnight. Now let me talk about something that doesn't get nearly enough attention. Social spending. This one hits close to home because I've seen it ruin so many people. Budgets. I had a friend who literally told me that when she goes out with people and they re-drinking, she order a non-alcoholic drink even if she doesn't want one, just so she fits in. I mean, what are we doing here? That might be some of the dumbest stuff I've ever heard in my entire life. You are literally spending money you don't need to spend just to look like everyone else. And I get it. Social pressure is real. When you are out with your friends and everyone ordering rounds and having a good time, it feels weird to be the one person not spending. But here's the truth. You can still have a good time without spending a fortune. I am not saying never go out, have fun, buy some food, buy a drink or two. Just don't go overboard. Don't spend hundreds of dollars in one night. And definitely don't spend money every single night. I used to do something that honestly makes me sound like like a total loser, but I am going to share it anyway because it worked. When I would go out to eat with my friends, I would just order water. That is it, just water. And guess what? I was still having a good time. I was still laughing and talking and enjoying the company. I just wasn't wasting money on overpriced drinks, and over time that added up to real savings. So if you are struggling with social spending, try that. Nobody's going to judge you for drinking water. And if they do, maybe you need better friends. All right, this next one is going to sound a little out there, but just stick with me because it is important. I almost hesitated to even call this a mistake, but for lack of a better term, the next thing that keeps people broke is not having a financial identity. Most people have absolutely no relationship with their money whatsoever. They don't know their net worth. They don't know their savings rate. They don't know how much they spend on groceries or entertainment or anything. They just have no idea what is going on in their own bank accounts, and I've met people who get so anxious just thinking about investing that they refuse to do it at all. They'd rather stick their head in the sand than face the reality of their financial situation. I actually just saw this clip from Tony Robbins where he was talking about identity, and he used smoking as an example, which I thought was perfect. If you were a smoker and you tried to quit, but you still identified as a smoker, and somebody asked you if you wanted a cigarette, you might ask what kind it is, because in your mind you are still a smoker. But if you quit smoking and you no longer identify as a smoker, you are automatically going to say no without even thinking about it. The identity shift is what makes the change permanent, and this applies perfectly to money. If you start to identify as someone who at least has some idea of what is going on with your finances, you will naturally start making better decisions. It won't feel forced, it will just become who you are. And I think a great way to start building this identity is actually really simple. Just look at your bank account regularly. I am serious, if you check it every day or even every week, you will start to develop a much better understanding of what is coming in and what is going out. You'll also get a little desensitized to the numbers, so you won't feel so anxious every time you open the app. And here is a bonus: if you actually look at your credit card statement, you'll remember to pay your bills on time. I cannot tell you how many times I've forgotten to check my accounts for weeks and then opened them up and felt that panic in my chest. Oh crap, what is happening with my money? I vividly remember those being the times when I felt the most lost and out of control. But when I started checking regularly, everything changed. It is literally the easiest thing you can do, and I promise you from personal experience, it will make you feel more confident in yourself and more in control of your life. And if you really want to take things to the next level, start budgeting. I know budgeting sounds boring. I know nobody wants to sit down and track every dollar they spend, but it works. And most people on the planet don't do it. So if you do it, you are already ahead of the game. You don't need a complicated system. Just write down what you earn and what you spend and make sure you are not spending more than you make. That is literally it. Now let me talk about something that I struggle with myself: waiting for the right time. I talked about this in my last video, but recently I've been leaving my investing decisions in the hands of God. I know that sounds dramatic, but hear me out. There are a few stocks I've been watching, and I set super low price targets on them. I told myself if they hit those prices, I'll buy in heavily, and if they don't, I'll just take that as a sign that I need to keep holding onto my cash a little longer. The reason I gave myself for doing this is that I am not making consistent money from real estate yet, so I need to be careful, and I thought that was good justification. But here's the problem: those stocks never hit my targets. They went up without me, and it stings. It genuinely stings to watch opportunities pass you by because you were waiting for the perfect moment. If I had the same mindset a few months ago when I was getting paid bi-weekly, I wouldn't have bought half the stocks I bought into, and I wouldn't have captured half the gains I got. And that is exactly the point. Waiting for the right time is a dangerous mindset. People say things like, I'll start investing when I have more money, or I'll get serious about my finances when I make more, and I get it. It feels safer to wait, but that mindset cuts off so much potential. It is not just with investing either. This applies to everything in life. There is that whole scene from Rocky where Apollo keeps saying there is no tomorrow. And as corny as that sounds, it is true. Tomorrow never comes. There is only today. Another example from my own life is this YouTube channel. Right now, it is just a hobby. Hopefully someday soon, it'll become a side hustle. But regardless of what happens, I've been having a lot of fun making these videos. I am growing as a person, I am growing as an investor, and I am learning so much along the way. But a lot of people never get to experience this because they don't start. They have a hobby or a side hustle idea, and they keep putting it off. They wait for the right time, and the right time never comes. So just start today. Start small, but start. I was honestly going to skip this next one because it is a bit played out, but for a lot of people, it is absolutely true. If you are hanging out with the wrong crowd, it will have an effect on you. I am not talking about peer pressure in the traditional sense, like someone forcing you to drink or do drugs. I am talking about something more subtle. If everyone around you is comfortable with a certain lifestyle, you will normalize that lifestyle. And it doesn't have to be about money, it could be anything. I look at this dusty guitar sitting in the corner of my room right now, and I think if I was hanging out with musicians all the time, I would probably be shredding on that thing every single day. But I don't, so I am not. Environment matters more than most people realize. And it doesn't even have to be your friends. It could be your job. I have a friend who works at an oil refinery, and it is brutal. He has told me that the job has interfered with his coworkers' personal lives, it drives wedges in relationships, it causes people to start drinking heavily and smoking and just becoming toxic to be around. And I know he is not alone. I know you watching this might be in a similar situation, and I know some of you have to provide for your families, so quitting is an option. But if your job is that much of a problem for you, you have to start coming up with a plan. IV sat down and talked with my friend about this. He is actively game planning his way out. He is not just suffering in silence. He is working on an exit strategy. And that is what you need to do too. None of this stuff is complicated. That is the thing that people don't understand. The people who end up with money aren't smarter than you. They didn't have some secret advantage or insider knowledge. They just made different decisions consistently over time. It is exactly like going to the gym. The gym is complicated. You pick up weights and you put them down. That is it, but it is difficult. And the people who can show up consistently for years will get the results they want. The same is true with money. It is not complex, it is just hard. But you can do it. So here's what I want you to take away from this. Instead of falling victim to lifestyle inflation, make a budget and stick to it. Instead of blowing money on drinks every weekend, try switching to water. Honestly, the budget helps with that too. Instead of getting scared and anxious about your finances, start checking your accounts regularly and build a financial identity that actually works for you. If you can try to change the environment you are in, whether that means finding new friends or planning your way out of a toxic job. And probably the most important thing, stop waiting for the right time. Start working toward your goals right now today, not tomorrow, not next month, not when you get your next raise. Now, if you are watching this video, that already puts you ahead of most people your age. The fact that you are even thinking about this stuff means you are on the right track. And I know I am just some random guy on the internet, but I genuinely believe in you. IV made every mistake in the book. And if I can turn things around, you can too. All right, that is all I've got for today. I hope you got something useful out of this. If you did, consider leaving a comment and maybe subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate the support. Good luck on your journey. Peace.